So winner is going to be into day 2. Loser is out. A mulligan to 6 here for Seth Kelly. He's looking at a 6-card hand. Especially with these ramp-style decks, they need to keep just about any 6 that is within reason. You're trying to get to 7 lands a couple turns early. You need all your cards to get there.
Right. Yeah, mulliganing with these Valakut decks, or just really any ramp deck, tends to punish you.
The blue Scapeshift decks, the old control ones, we don't see them much anymore. Those ones could actually tolerate a couple mulligans. You know, cards like Cryptic Command, Electrolyze would start to stock your hand back up.
Right. You were technically playing Magic outside of just trying to ramp up your lands.
Well, unfortunately for Seth, his 6 wasn't one of the keepable 6s, so he's going to go down to 5. And that's going to be a quick keep for the Scapeshift player.
Lands and spells. That'll do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, but the nice part about Scapeshift is while it doesn't mulligan well, is that you can keep almost any 7. Lands and spells are all good because all your spells and lands, like your spells are more lands. It's unlikely that any hand of 4 lands and 3 spells is probably keepable regardless of what they are.
Right, yeah, producing mana is generally good. The one spell in the deck that really makes that less true is the Lightning Bolt, and I suppose being heavy and Scapeshift in your opener is pretty poor as well.
Yeah, so turn 1, Forest into Search for Tomorrow. Remember, because Kelly is playing Scapeshift as opposed to something like Primeval Titan, he doesn't really have to worry about his mountain count. He just has to get to 7 lands.
Right. Yeah, 3 basic forests in this build of the deck. The second basic forest, as you often say, the worst card in the strictly Titan versions. Yeah,
those decks are more frequently trying to go off with not a full combo. It's just like you ramp, you play some Valakuts, you start doming them with mountains. Seth, because he has that 1-card finish, he's slower, but there's a lot less moving parts. Serum Visions for Dresslar.
That's right, 2 cards to the bottom. One of them looked to be a second Saheeli Rai.
Sure, and that's the neat part. I mean, this was true in the past of Twin, and it's true of his deck too. The combo pieces, the Felidar Guardian, Saheeli Rai, are the worst cards in his deck. Farseek turn 2 from Kelly, so he'll be up to a 5-drop as soon as turn 3. Spreading Seas picked up for Dresslar. And yeah, I suppose because Kelly's playing Scapeshift and not Through the Breach, Spreading Seas is less good here. All Kelly cares about is getting to 7 lands. Doesn't really care what those lands are.
And outside of being able to execute the combo, Dresslar's spells don't line up particularly well here.
No.
Remand is historically the best counterspell to supplement a combo. When we saw Splinter Twin in the format, it was generally a 4 Remand deck. You just bought time, comboed off. The thing about playing against a Valakut deck is just being able to cast a spell next turn. If Dresslar can't combo off, he's still in a lot of trouble. And his combo is always vulnerable to Lightning Bolt.
So Kelly just trying to do a shortcut here as he gets his Stomping Ground Spreading Seized. A lot of times players will move a land off to the side or something like that just so they can correctly count their lands. But Spreading Seas was the play for Dresslar. Yeah, because his interaction is weak, I would think that Dresslar has to rely on the combo a little bit more here. You know, if his goal is to play defense against Scapeshift, he's going to be on the losing side of that. Fortunately, he can just jam a turn 4 combo, and it very likely works.
Right. A lot of his supporting cast is just pretty bad in this matchup. Lightning Helix, Lightning Bolt, Path to Exile. He has a Supreme Verdict, Jace Architect of Thought, Nahiri the Harbinger.
None of these are good. Yeah.
It's just a list of just not particularly powerful spells.
Land 5 for Kelly, and this is where the mulligan is coming to hurt Kelly. You see his hand has 1 card remaining in it, or make that 2 cards. It's the kind of thing where if he had a 7-card hand, he just would Farseek here and next turn do something like Landscape Shift Win.
Right.
He just doesn't have enough fuel to make that play. Saheeli Rai, the play for Dresslar. There is the possibility here, Landscape Shift are Seth's cards. If he draws a Rampant Growth, he wins. He goes land, Rampant Growth, Scape Shift, 18U.
He drew a Lightning Bolt, which should at least protect him from a combo on this following turn.
Yeah, and that's not bad because he has the Scape Shift. He just needs 1 more land. So That's probably a welcome pickup. Like, rampant growth would have been better because it means he would have won.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, take it or leave it. I think he'd take it. Just going to pass the turn, does Seth Kelly. Back over to Dresslar, draws another Spreading Seas. I believe he has the Felidar Guardian. I don't know. I mean, is he going to jam the combo? Interesting.
Kelly was doing some posturing with his lands. I'm not sure what he was attempting to represent. It's entirely possible that it was a double bluff where he was trying to pretend like he was trying to pretend that he had something.
Sure.
Where he actually does have the lightning bolt, which prevents the combo.
Saheeli's going to scry to the bottom. And Max is just going to go straight for the combo. Bad news for Max. Seth drew a copy of Lightning Bolt. So Felidar Guardian targets Saheeli Rai. And then Saheeli Rai -2 to target Felidar Guardian. In response, Seth bolting away the Planeswalker. So now a land off the top is going to win the game for Seth. And also a lot of pseudo lands do as well. A rampant growth. Okay, it looks like, so what Max Den did is he used his copy to blink Spreading Seas with Saheeli Rai being gone. So Seth bolted a little early there, but it's not going to cost him. He draws the land, and with that should be the game. And what a mull to 5 for Seth Kelly. 7 lands. And Max is tapped out, so casts Scapeshift. Sacrifices all 7 lands, gets a Valakut and 6 mountains. That will deal 18. Max is going to make him show it.
Right. This build plays 7 basic mountains, 3 Cinderglades, and 3 Stomping Grounds, so he has more than enough left over here.
Yep. It's good on Max, by the way, against these decks when they go for a full Scapeshift to make sure they have enough mountains left. So Max is going to make him show it. Seth does have it, though.
There's some great stories about tutorable win conditions and players trying to get by not having them in their deck.
Valakut, 6 mountains, deal you 18.
There's also the potential that your Scapeshift opponent, for some reason, grabs 3 Valakuts and tries to tell you that you're dead. Or I suppose in this case it would be 4 Valakuts. Or maybe they put a forest down. I don't know.
Game 1 goes over to Seth Kelly on Scapeshift, winning on a mull to 5. It's impressive stuff. So maybe speaking too soon, saying that this is a tougher matchup for Scapeshift. Certainly the combo, I mean, Max had a turn 4 kill, and there's only 4 lightning bolts in Seth's deck. It's the only way to interact with it. But when he has one, wasn't too hard for him.
And you could make the argument that Kelly had to peel a lightning bolt, but if he just peeled a ramp spell on that turn, he would have won the game just the same. So as we go to sideboards, Dresslar is packing 3 Relic of Progenitus, 3 Dispel, 2 Negate, 2 Engineered Explosives, a Stony Silence, a Kitchen Finks, a Lightning Helix, a Wear Tear, and a Gideon Jura. The Negates are great. Dispel against this particular build, I suppose it insulates him against the lightning bolt on his combo.
That's the only way that Seth has to answer the combo in the 75.
Yep.
So the danger is that Seth has also sudden shocks, which you can't dispel, but still work.
That's a bummer. We go over to Kelly's side. There are 3 Obstinate Baloth, 2 Relic of Progenitus, 2 Engineered Explosives, 2 Nature's Claim, 2 Sudden Shock, an Anger of the Gods, a Reclamation Sage, an Ancient Grudge, and a Thrun the Last Troll. The Sudden Shocks make a lot of sense, more ways to break up the combo. Maybe you bring in Thrun because your opponent's a blue deck.
Yeah, Thrun's probably fine, not because Thrun's particularly good here. It's because you have some other cards that are just worse.
Yep.
They're going to get ready for game number 2. Now, in just a couple of weeks here, we have the next Grand Prix offering for Star City Games. That one's going to be Kaladesh Aether Revolt Limited, and it's in Orlando.
On March 24th through the 26th, make plans to be part of Magic the Gathering history when StarCityGames.com proudly presents Grand Prix Orlando. Play in the Kaladesh Aether Revolt Limited format main event to compete for thousands of dollars in prizes and a spot on the Magic the Gathering Pro Tour. Select the 3-day Infinite Challenge package to compete in all challenge events for one low price, while also walking away with the exclusive Scrapper Champion playmat. All Friday challenges are also Grand Prix trials. Come out early and compete for buys in the main event and more chances to claim a Scrapper Champion playmat. Prefer 100-card formats? Register for the Ultimate Commander package to play in 4 Commander On-Demand events and take home a Commander vs. playmat and Ultimate Guard Boulder deck case. And don't forget to come say hello to Grand Prix Orlando's many special guests, including cosplayer Vanessa Martin and an artist alley full of fan favorites, headlined by guest of honor Volkan Baga. Be part of Magic the Gathering history. Register for Grand Prix Orlando today.
So that's now just 2 short weeks away. It's Grand Prix Orlando. So going to the sideboard game, we're going to have Max Dresslar on the play again. So Kelly did set up for a turn 5 win there.
On a 5-card hand.
Yeah. I mean, all his cards were just a Scape Shift, 7 lands, and a Lightning Bolt. That was some of the lands were ramp spells, but that's basically the same thing.
So the real problem that Dresslar is going to run into in this matchup is his main deck has all these cards that aren't very good, and his sideboard is largely more of the same. He doesn't have much in the way of upgrades. Some of the cards he has are particularly good. Yeah, I'm happy having Negate, but I wish I had more.
And there are some issues to fit in this combo. He's definitely taken a board control route you were mentioning with cards like Lightning Bolt, Spreading Seas. Mana Leaks, Cryptic Commands, these are missing, and he's really paying a price for them in this matchup.
And a card that's particularly good against Scape Shift decks, Spell Snare, nowhere in the 75.
Right, Spell Snare is excellent. It counters most of the ramp spells.
Mm-hmm.
Tap lands from both players, Colonnade and Cinderglade. Start off here on our second game. Keep in mind, last game Max trying to jam a turn 4 combo, did hit one of the Lightning Bolts. For Seth Kelly, his answers are 4 Lightning Bolts, 2 copies of Sudden Shock. Those are the only ways he can interact.
Sudden Shock's going to be kind of tough for Dresslar to beat. If Kelly produces that, he's just really in trouble.
Yeah. Wild Moments for Dresslar. And you see where his lack of sideboarding is going to show. There's still Lightning Helix in his hand here in the post-board game. Just not really enough things to board in.
Given Lightning Bolt and Sudden Shock, it's fairly difficult for Dresslar to actually combo off. Part of his game plan, he does play 4 Snapcaster Mage. He might try for this Bolt Helix Snapcaster Mage plan, but it's really slow, especially if you're not countering any of the early ramp spells.
Yeah, so that Farseek does resolve. And I mean, and I know from having played the Breach side, when I play against a deck like Jeskai Control, I kind of feel that Farseek is my most important card in the matchup, where once I start getting ahead on lands, the matchup becomes pretty easy.
Right.
The games I lose are the ones where they snare my first ramp spell and mana leak the second one, then I actually have trouble winning.
Right.
Max can't do that.
Yeah, I can tell you a lot about beating Valakut decks with blue decks, and the spells I use to do it are largely absent from Dresslar's 75.
Yeah, Spell Pierce, Spell Snare, Mana Leak. It's going to be an Explorer from Seth Kelly. That one resolves. So he'll make land number 4. And looks like land number 5 with. He'll go for another Explorer. Yeah, that resolves 2. So now how about not just land number 5? How about land number 5? And we'll see if he has land number 6. Yeah, he can play one more. He does pass. I don't. Yeah, he had one more land drop. Probably doesn't need it. Lightning Helix on end step. I say that in a really flippant way, but he probably, it's honest actually.
Right.
It's fine. Serum Visions from Max Dresslar.
Looks like a remand in the top 2. That would have been nice over Wall of Omens on the second turn.
Yeah, just to slow things down, but damage is kind of done here. And there's still problems, right? Spreading Seas is in Dresslar's hand. That card doesn't do anything against the Scape Shift. So he's going to tap out here to seize one of Seth Kelly's lands. And he misses the 4th land drop despite cantripping, so he'll just say go. Rampant Growth, we'll see whether Seth can just win here. Land into Rampant Growth, Scape Shift wins. He has, I guess with his Stomping Ground getting Spreading Seas, he doesn't have the green mana to do that kind of play.
So I think why you might have seen Seth not committing an extra land is he picked up the mountain this turn and previously had Valakut. And he's trying to play an honest Valakut game that is weak to Spreading Seas.
Well, about Primeval Titan? He's going to play that on 6. Love that card.
If he had that one, that's not terribly honest in the face of Spreading Seas.
So he's going to ramp up to 8 mana. I believe he has the Scape Shift in hand as well.
Oh,
And that's telling. He gets 2 fetch lands instead of 2 Valakuts, which is a huge tell on Scape Shift.
Any old land will do. Don't want to get the mountains out of my deck. Don't want to expose my Valakuts.
Yeah, he doesn't want the Valakuts to be crumbled, so it's a really smart play to get the fetch lands.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if he didn't have Scape Shift, it still could be fine. If this Primeval Titan attacks, then it gets 2 Valakuts, then he goes and sacks the fetch lands and 12s his opponent. It's, you know, Rampant Growth's out of his hand, makes it 18, something like that. It's fine.
Right.
Path to Exile on Primeval Titan.
I am imagining Forest is the basic to be found.
Sure. These Scape Shift lists, it doesn't even matter what you find. As long as you have enough mountains in your deck, everything's fine.
Yeah. Dealing 22 from 9 lands. I am confident that Kelly can figure this one out.
And that was on upkeep. I mean, Max could have a negate up, and Seth will have to respect that.
Sure.
I was just cast another Primeval Titan.
That'd be pretty good. Can't negate that one.
Here's another land and a Scape Shift. This is going to be the negate check. Does Max have a negate? Remand. Well, bad news here is there. Well, yep. There's 2 fetch lands.
And I believe 2 more basic forests in the deck as well. So this isn't even a concern for
this is
total
not even a
mountain
count. Yeah. Forest. Opponent tapped out. Check. 8 lands in play. Check. He did force him to have the 8th land because Max is above 18. But Seth has the 8th and 9th and I believe 10th land. So that's just fine. Yep. Sacrifices. Enough lands. He has 10. As long as he sacrifices 8 and gets 2 Valakuts and 6 mountains. Or he could actually get 4 Valakuts and 4 mountains if he wanted to.
He just has mountains on the battlefield already.
Yeah, so 4 Valakuts, 4 mountains is the most damage I believe he can do. Maybe 16 Valakut triggers. 48.
That's not a small amount of damage.
Yeah, a lot of times you'll hear players talk about, oh, well, I'm going to gain life so they can't Valakut me. And it's like, well, that is possible, but the number is somewhere in like the 200s. So you really need a lot of life gain for that to start being a real thing.
Right. Lightning Helix alone is not going to be enough.
No, we're talking about like how many white Martyr of Sands did you sacrifice? That kind of territory.
How many times did you proclamation it back?
Yeah. So that's going to be a handshake. And in 2 quick games, it is going to be Seth Kelly and his red-green Scape Shift moving on to day 2.